What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Yamcast episode 75. Holy crap. 3/4 of a century of Yamcasting up in here.
That is a lot of Yamcast. We say that all the time, but
yeah,
that is just
literally
so much of us talking about bikes.
Yeah, somehow you guys are still here watching, listening, whatever it is that you do while we're doing this, because certainly you're not just sitting there in front of the computer watching us talk. You're probably like folding your laundry or doing your dishes or washing your car, whatever it is you're doing. We're glad we are in your ears for today. What?
It's just in your ears.
I'm right in there. I'm inside your brain, baby. All right, so we've got some news today from the UK. Got some updates on another story that we did. We've also got some news about the Fireblade that we are very excited to talk about because we have a lot to say about it. We also have some news from Yamaha in the form of their brand new Tenere. Going to be chatting about that. We have our DM portion from our Discord where we're going to be talking about two-up riding. This is going to be a fun topic. We have not discussed two-up riding very much on the channel, and we're excited to talk about it with the Discord boys. It's something that Spite and I have a little bit of experience of. We want to hear their feedback. And then at the end of the Yamcast, we have a sort of a meme contest, sort of not a meme contest, where we had the Discord boys compile a bunch of comments from YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Some of the YouTube comments, if you guys don't know, maybe you're hanging out there right now, one of the most crazy, despotic, bizarre places you can possibly visit. Absolute just nadir of society. A horrible, horrible place. But we decided to get the Discord boys to wrangle together some fun ones. Going to read them aloud and enjoy them. So sit back, relax, let's get into it. Alrighty, Spite, now that I've told everyone we're inside their ears. Making my way in your ear. All right, what do we got?
Noob ASMR. All right, we are going to start with this piece of news from the UK, which follows up on that piece we covered a little while ago about how the UK government has this new initiative to get basically all two-wheeled vehicles pushed into EVs.
Yeah.
And the response here is the Motorcycle Industry Association, this is again all UK, has responded and been like, whoa, okay, hold up. You got to do this in phases, basically. Yeah. And the reason why, they had this super aggressive plan to get everybody on two wheels on electric bikes, because it was one of those things that the previous article said is left out of a lot of these plans.
Yes.
Because there are all these leisure vehicles and everybody sees cars, but motorcycles, especially in the UK, are a big deal. Mm-hmm. And as a result, these guys are like, hold up, we totally agree that there's actually a quote in here a little bit further down. Let's see if I can find it. Future can and will be bright in our sector if and only if the UK government ensures the right level of support in its place. Basically, they're saying here that by doing nothing but going straight for the electric bikes, it's going to tank the entire leisure market of motorcycling.
Yeah.
Which we've been saying for a long time.
It's true. And yeah, if you don't, I mean, this is in place to get them to this point by 2030. Is that what it was?
Yes. So
basically that gives them, starting from literally today, less than 8 years to be there, to be selling all electric bikes and stuff.
Yeah.
That's a bit ambitious, I think. And I would personally love to see, because I obviously do love to use my motorcycles for leisure purposes, some sort of grandfather clause.
Yeah.
You know, like, let me ride my Turbo Busa. Like, I barely get to ride it as it is. Like, how many whales am I really killing, right? Come on. And I honestly think that because the engines are so much smaller, they just don't emit that much emissions anyways, right?
So actually,
that's kind of my thing.
There's this, this is kind of a deep cut, but there's a Mythbusters episode about this topic specifically, whether or not motorcycles are better for the environment than a car. And what they found is that while motorcycles have much better gas mileage, because our cats aren't as big, they tend to emit more toxic stuff than a car does.
I could see that, actually, yeah.
So while we're not producing as much like CO2, we are producing a bunch of other stuff.
That makes sense, actually, yeah.
So they are not as bad, but they are worse in some spots.
Right.
And this is why this is such a big pitch for the UK government, why they're pushing so hard, is because this is this black spot, this missed zone in all of these plans, is motorcycles and two-wheelers.
Yeah, and there's a point right there that I want to say. It says, these have also considered the impact of motorcycling on the economy. Motorbike sport delivery riders who depend on petrol bikes for their livelihoods and the industry's lack of charging infrastructure compared to cars. So yeah, I can't really see a world in which bikes would use the same charge ports like a Tesla charge or something like that, because the charger is so big and like it's not going to be ubiquitous like that. And we don't really even know which way the wind's going to blow, in terms of it's going to be swappable batteries or a universal plug or whatever it's going to be. There's a lot of
charge or synth gas or
a lot of hurdles.
And so that's what they're saying here. The MCAI is basically saying that this is the decarbonization agenda is here to stay, and rightly so. However, unlike other modes of transport, we face significant challenges when it comes to higher powered leisure motorcycles, and they're becoming zero emissions at the tailpipe.
Yeah.
I mean, think of the bikes that we have in the shop that are so choked up by the emissions stuff and how quickly you unchoke them up by doing anything.
Yeah.
So what they're essentially saying here, at least if I can read between the lines, is not only do they need to make these motorcycles good in stock form, but I'd imagine they're going to need to do something about a modified form as well.
Yeah.
Because here in America specifically, this is obviously a UK piece, but no one runs a stock pipe.
No.
And it's the first thing that happens to your motorcycle usually is you chop the exhaust off.
Yeah. Look at every Harley ever around here.
Yes.
None of them have a stock pipe.
And then what good was all of the investment in developing this fancy exhaust system?
Yeah.
So I would imagine that we're going to see these new street line exhausts that you can only buy from the manufacturer, like the Acra street lines that KTM has, where they are emissions compliant, but they're a little bit louder.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot more of that, and that's going to get closer to the zero emissions, but then EVs are still coming,
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because, again, like as a person who enjoys leisure motorcycles primarily, I don't use a bike to get to where I need to go really ever. I use them basically just to have fun.
Yeah.
It's hard whenever you hear these policy proposals or news articles being like, it's really easy to look at it and just be like, we're taking away your fun.
Yes.
And that's why I very selfishly was like, oh, I'd love to see a grandfather clause, something to allow me to continue using my bikes, trying to find a way to like, oh, it's not going to apply to me, right? I'm not, they're not coming for me, right? Like, but they are in a way, and it's tough because if you want to live in a world that has net zero emissions and the planet is better, you gotta do your part, right? I personally would love to see more investment and more talk about corporate emissions, like cruise, like steamship, not steamships, but like what's the word? Cargo ship emissions, those sort of things. Cars, obviously, as well. Because like when we drive around here, for example, in Austin, Texas, if I go out, not today because it's a miserably cold day, but yesterday was nice and warm. I think I saw maybe 4 motorcycles on my way back home. Yeah. Just 4, right? Everybody else is in a big ass truck or something like mine, right? Yes. Just absolutely abusing the environment. So it's like that I think is the right and cognizant place to start.
But I mean, even a city filled with Ram 1500s isn't going to be anywhere close to what Cowie Heavy Industries is doing with their big cruise ships.
Yeah. And are those being considered to be transported? You can't turn something like that into no emissions, right? No. Those absolutely gargantuan diesel engines or whatever that run those ships, I don't even know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're like it's 10 million horsepower things that operate at like 1 RPM.
Yeah, and you take another macro step out of it, like our food system, right? Like our food system produces so much emission and waste and just environmental hazard. All the plastics we make. So I don't know. For me, I feel like bikes occupy such a small sliver that's why I'm like, can't we be excused from this assignment, right? Like, can't everyone else do that? Can't we keep enjoying it, right? Because it is for leisure, right? I don't know.
Here's my cynical approach to that is because this is such a small slice, they just don't have the lobbying cash to battle
That's very true.
You
We
know?
have the AMA being like, nobody should wear helmets, and you're like, what are you doing? Like, what?
And then meanwhile, you have, all of these massive industrial companies like farming companies that they can do whatever the they want.
Yeah.
Because they just got a ton of cash.
Yep.
Kawasaki can't even participate in MotoGP.
Yeah. Well, I feel like for Cowie, their motorcycle sales are like an accounting error versus all the other stuff they do. People like love their motorcycles, but forget that they, like you said, they're Kawasaki heavy industries.
Yep.
They make the big stuff that makes all the other stuff you like to buy and eat and consume. I don't know. I always take this sort of environmental thing with a grain of salt because there's so much else about the way we live our lives that informs the way the environment is going as opposed to just motorcycle tailpipe emissions.
Yes.
It feels like such a drop in the bucket, like the way you eat, what you consume. When you don't reuse or recycle or do anything like that, you always buy new all the time, disposable plastics, our cars, our food systems. Like, I don't know. I can't help but be a little skeptical about people coming after my bikes.
Yeah.
But yeah, before we go into a giant diatribe about something else, let's move on to our next bit of news, which is our sweet, sweet vindication.
We saved everybody. You're welcome.
We saved you all. The headline of this article says, recall, all 2021 Honda CBR 1000 RR RSP Fireblades may develop an oil leak. Subheadline, excessively hot exhaust pipes could melt the oil cooler pipe, which could then leak oil onto the rear tire. Spite, did you have some oil leak onto your rear tire when the oil cooler line exploded?
Just a little.
Just a little bit,
like
right?
all the oil in the engine.
Oh, it's just a little oil leak that happens. It's not a friggin' leak, it's a lake.
So, before we dive into this one, where the hell's our attribution? Come on.
Where's our attribution? Janaki, I cannot pronounce that last name.
I mean, we discovered this problem.
I know this for a fact that we discovered it because, number one, it happened to our giveaway Fireblade. Yes. And first of all, just want to say that all of you in the comments saying that we did something wrong with the bike, go yourselves. We didn't do anything wrong. We were just riding the damn bike. First of all. Second of all, I know for a fact that it was we were the first ones because I actually spoke with a guy from Honda North America several times over the phone who wanted a lot of information about our bike and what happened with it.
Yeah.
His name was Byron in South Carolina, I think if I remember correctly. Called me several times, wanted to know, all the conditions we rode it in, what we did, where we took it, any modifications, blah, blah, blah. And through all their conclusive research found that it's a bad idea to put a rubber oil cooler line in between the block and the header. So the takeaway from this is that Honda basically said that if you ride the bike around in first gear between 5,000 and 9,000 RPM for like a long time, you basically can cause this failure. If anyone knows anything about the Honda Fireblade, the gears are so long that you are basically always in first gear around town.
Yes.
Always.
And they specifically say, I remember I actually read the whole thing.
Yeah.
And they were like, even riding behind a car outside of that RPM band is not enough airflow to cool that area. Mm-hmm. So the engine, the bike is so horrifically designed for street use that you literally you can't even be in traffic like moving at 55 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And it can, because that's actually how ours failed.
Yep.
We were in traffic. I was riding around, just poodling around.
Yep.
And I suddenly hear you over the comms being like, "Oh, Spite, pull over now."
Yeah, I was like, pull over, pull over, pull over. Oh my God, pull over now. I just see a huge plume of like smoke behind you. Mm-hmm. So you apparently can't ride your Honda Fireblade in traffic behind a car. They said that it needs like airflow. It needs some airflow to keep the thing moving. Guys, when Honda said they built you a race bike for the racetrack, they were not kidding around. They said, if you use this bike on the street at your own peril, we're going to detune it. We're going to make it so that it blows up if it rides on the street. Keep it on the damn racetrack. Just hilarious.
At least it managed to make me feel like a GP rider, if only when it exploded. That was such a spectacular plume of smoke that was coming out of there.
It was insane. It was absolutely crazy. So glad it did not happen as you were mid-lean and you were able to pull it over. It could have been super dangerous.
Oh, yeah. No,
super
definitely.
dangerous. Because
the tire was ruined.
Yeah.
It was bathed in oil. The whole bike was bathed in oil.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what Honda is going to do to rectify the situation.
Yes.
So apparently Honda is going to take, and this might take a bunch of time, we don't know yet, they're going to recall every 2021 Honda Fireblade back to the dealership so they can install a heat shield.
It's actually a 2-stage recall.
It's a 2-stage recall?
Yes, because the heat shield has not been developed yet.
That's right. Yeah, they scramble the engineers and make a heat shield.
So the way it's going to work is you go in and they're going to check it out and they're going to replace it with a new one.
Yeah.
Right? New, more sturdy, heat-resistant rubber or whatever. And then in a second stage, you'll get notified when it's ready.
Yeah.
They're going to send out a heat shield for it when it gets developed. And there is no timeline for that.
Yeah.
The first stage is effective now. The second stage is effective at some point.
Yep.
So, and I mean, why was there not... First of all, okay, let's talk about this. There's a rubber hose between 2 metal hoses in between 4 piping hot titanium headers and a inline 4 with the same bore and stroke as a MotoGP motorcycle.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to put off heat?
Just a little.
Even in its detuned state, it's going to put off heat.
Like, it was so hot before we did the tune on it because it's running so lean.
Yeah.
It's cooler with the full-blown tune on there because it's actually running the right AFR.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't understand. Like, it had a metal wrapping on the outside, which I suppose was maybe a little bit of insulation, but he would have been better to literally just take some fiberglass and then put some aluminum tape around the outside of it.
I just don't get why that line is there in the first place. It's Honda. They certainly could have designed it to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, somehow, some way, you know? Why is it... It's just crazy. So yeah, great vindication for all of us here at Yami Noob. I remember when I saw this story a few weeks ago, I was like, I knew it. I knew it would cause a recall. But it's weird whenever you are literally the first person to break something on the bike. Because at first, whenever something went wrong, I was like, well, we did something wrong. For sure, we did something wrong. I was like, it's a Honda. Hondas don't break. You know, we messed something up. And then we took it to the dealership, and they were like, no, you didn't. I was like, the oil cooler line blew up. And the more you think about it, you're like, oh no, this is a manufacturing problem. This is an error from the manufacturer.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what you do to the engine. Yeah. It's not going, like, you're not increasing oil pressure or anything like that.
No, there's no way the tune, like, you know, increased the oil pressure, you know? Like, it's not what happened. But yeah, if you guys own a Honda Fireblade, anyone out there owns a Honda Fireblade, has not seen this yet, do not ride your bike around 5,000, 9,000 RPM in first gear behind a bunch of traffic or something like that. Click it down a couple gears, be chill on it, or just use it on the racetrack like it was intended, I suppose. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, pretty wild. Our last bit of news for today, though, is this new Yamaha 2022 Tenere 700 World Raid Edition.
So this was the Rally Raid concept, and this is the full Zoot version.
I think, though, that it should be called the European Raid Edition because it's not available in the U.S.
Yeah, I know. This is ridiculous. I mean, we were talking about this earlier when we were discussing what we were going to talk about, that it would be such a no-brainer for them to bring this here. Like, we're a huge adventure market.
Massive. All those guys out in Colorado and Utah and even California. This is the biggest growing market for motorcycles in the U.S. We're a huge motorcycle market in general. I don't really understand why this is not going to be sold in the U.S. Maybe there's reasons we don't know about. But, yeah, let's talk about the bike, though.
Yes.
The bike is very cool.
Yeah. So it is a holographic Tenere 700.
Yeah, quite holographic.
First of all, it looks really cool. Yeah. I like this colorway a lot.
I like the new double gas tank look, the new colorway.
Yep.
The new double gas tank's kind of lower a little bit on the bike. Its seat's a little bit lower, kind of like the KTM's fuel pods, goes down low. It's a 6.1 gallon capacity, which is pretty massive for this size of motorcycle. I think they're claiming 300 miles of range, if I remember correctly. 500 Ks, something like that. That's a lot.
That would be pretty incredible. Let's see. I think they have it down here. 54.7 claimed.
So on a 6-gallon tank, that's over 300 miles.
54.7 times 6 is exactly 328.2 miles.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Big range.
My KLR has a 6.1 gallon gas tank.
Oh my God. Spite. Let's stay on topic here. The cool thing about this bike too is you're getting the GYTR suspension upgrades as well, more suspension travel, kind of still a weird little skid plate down there, but that's okay. Yep. Just a lot of choice parts on this Tenere that a lot of owners are currently doing to their bike, but it's just cool that it comes from the factory now like this. You know?
Yeah, so we've got the big changes, probably the most to the suspension. So KYB forks, fully adjustable, 9 inches of travel, up 0.7 inch, and then a new shock in the back with 0.8 more inches of travel at 8.7. Mm-hmm. So it's still, you were saying it's not up to the Touareg spec.
Not quite, yeah.
But
one of the first things that a lot of guys do on the T7 is get like more long travel, beefier front suspension. That's like the first thing that a lot of guys do.
We have a new TFT dash, which is cool.
Yeah, I'm a little torn on this TFT dash because one of the coolest things about the T7 was how like bare bones it was. You know what I mean? Also, like, it does, like, why do you have a TFT dash if you don't have like riding modes or like a lot of electronic features? Like, do you need the TFT?
So this actually does have modes here. So gains 3 modes of anti-lock braking systems here.
Okay. So
much like one of those bikes in the I forget which one, the TVS Apache. The same thing on a 160cc motorcycle. Mode 1 is street use ABS. Mode 2 is designed for road raid, offering ABS at just the front wheel, and Mode 3 is off. So
I will say that TFT doesn't look like the nicest one I've seen. No.
God,
look at it looks like a first gen iPad with that bezel.
It really does.
It's pretty rough. Hey, it's an adventure bike, it's rugged.
And I think that the real thing that annoys me is that in a universe where you still can't go buy a Tenere, they're like, here, this is just for Europe. Have a new model.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah, like used Teneres are going for like $13K right now.
Yeah.
Because you can't find them anywhere. I think it makes a lot of sense to sell more Teneres and nicer Teneres here in the States. So it is confusing that Yamaha Europe was like, no, this is just for Europe. Particularly when I was just telling you before we started the Yamcast, in a lot of places in Europe, you can't even ride off-road anymore. In Italy, it's super hard to ride off-road.
That's nuts.
So it's like, well then what is the point? To truly cosplay.
Yep.
Yeah.
It does have an Olin steering damper, though, with 18 modes.
I'll tell you can put them in any one of those 18 modes, you still won't ride like Poltares. There is no Poltares mode on your T7, unfortunately. You need the rider mod for that.
I think the T7 has been one of those motorcycles that I was not expecting it to be as huge as it turned out to be.
God, it is like a genre-defining motorcycle, a generational motorcycle,
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty crazy.
We're going to be hearing about this forever.
Yeah.
It's a cool package.
I think it's a package that was really needed in that market, right?
Yes.
Like, it was dominated by heavy, tech-forward, like these BMW GS things or whatever. And then Yamaha was like, well, we'll just give you exactly what you want at a low price point originally, like $9,000 or $10,000 or whatever. And people lost their minds. They're like, oh my God, like a real adventure bike for cheap. So we keep telling people, if you make a good, cheap bike, you'll sell a bunch of them. That's the problem. Harley Davidson. How many times do we have to say it, Anything else on this World Raid T7 you want to mention?
I wish maybe we'll see it. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe it'll make its way here to the States. We don't know yet. But folks, that's going to wrap up the news for this week. We're now going to move over to the DM portion of the podcast. Stick around. Alrighty, folks, welcome to the DM portion of the podcast. You guys know the drill. If you want to participate in these and watch this live when we do them, head over to yamanoob.co, become a member. It's as little as $5 a month. You get access to the server, behind-the-scenes look, all these live streams, and you get entered to win all of our different motorcycles by looking at all of our official rules and everything like that. You should definitely be on yamanoob.co if you like what you're seeing right now. We think it's a great thing. For this week's DM portion, we are talking two-up riding. Despite this is something we don't ever really show on the channel that much.
Nope.
However, there is a video going live later this week where we do a little bit more 2-up riding, and it was just a little bit sketchy.
Just a little.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, terrifying, I would say.
And it's a part of motorcycling that I think we definitely could talk a little bit more about, because I think a lot of people do 2-up riding, even though we don't as much. But it's a big part of the kind of culture and identity for motorcycling for a lot of people. A lot of people get their first motorcycling experience by riding pillion, right? As a little kid, or maybe as a girlfriend or boyfriend or partner for whoever's riding. What do you think about 2-up riding?
So back when I was on my Harleys,
one sec. Really quick, for everyone on the Discord, shoot Spite a DM about 2-up riding, and we will read it on here and discuss what you have to say about 2-up riding. So just letting y'all know. DM Spite about 2-up riding. We'll read it. Okay.
So I started when I had the Harleys with my girlfriend on the back. And it was fun because we could take the bike anywhere in Austin and just park it wherever.
Yeah.
But the more I did it, and the more I got into riding sportier motorcycles, the more I was like, this sucks. It's not fun, especially. So the Harleys were fine because I was able to put a luggage rack on that had a, seat back, so my girlfriend could lean all the way back and be totally comfortable. The VFR had a great seat perch for her, but she's so much higher up than I am, and the weight is distributed in such a way, excuse me, where I just didn't enjoy having her on the back. So I stopped about halfway through owning the VFR, and I just put a seat cowl on so she couldn't ride it anymore.
Yeah.
Then I put her on back of the DRZ once.
I love that that's how you stopped your girlfriend from riding the bike, is you put a cowl on. You're like, you cannot get on the bike anymore. I do that with my bikes with my fiance now, where I'm just like, no, there's no passenger pegs on it. You can't ride it. Sorry.
But yeah, it's just, it was more fun for me to ride with her on her own motorcycle. Because then we get to go, do longer days and stuff. Because at the end of the day, it's really boring to sit on a pillion seat.
It can be, yeah. I rather enjoyed my time on the back of the Goldwing with my chips, and I was having a good time. But I wonder how long I'd want to be on there, because I think I'd be bored eventually.
Yeah, it's more fun to ride the motorcycle than to ride upon it.
I think that's an interesting idea where, like, I feel like many pillions evolve into motorcyclists.
Yeah.
Because they get bored and they want their own bike, because it is way more fun to ride the bike than it is to just be on the back of it.
Yeah.
For me, in my experience with 2-up riding, I've barely ever done it. I've taken maybe 2 or 3 different girls on the back of my bike. I don't love the feeling either, because I do love to whip around my bike and do whatever I want with it. I feel like there's so much more to think about. There's so much more to consider. Even little parking lot maneuvers, sometimes you have to be like, oh, can you jump off so I can back it out and then jump back on, There's a lot more communication happening. There's a lot more restroom stops as well. There's a lot more like little taps on the shoulders and stuff. It's just, for me, I've told you this before, I've told people on the Yamcast before, motorcycling is like a very like solitude activity for me. I like just being me, doing me on my bike. I don't want to worry about anybody else. I don't want to be in a group. People want to go somewhere. I just want to do me. And if I got, a little monkey on my back, it's just not really what I'm looking for with motorcycling. But I know for a lot of people, they love the feeling of like, oh, I'm just going to cruise down the coast, with my girl on my back, and we're going to go get some sandwiches and stuff. I think there's definitely an appeal to it, but you got to be on the right bike, as we learned with the bike that's going to go live in 2 days from now. Some bikes are better for pillions than others. Obviously.
Yes, and you should really consider the distribution of the weight upon that motorcycle.
You really should. If you have a bit of a heavier passenger, male or female, I'm not casting judgment on you guys, you definitely think a little bit about what's going to happen when that, because there's gross vehicle weight capacities for a reason. That's all I'm going to say. We definitely exceeded it on that bike that we rode. But anyways, let's see what the Discord boys have to say about 2-up riding.
First up, we've got Full Metal Corgi.
All right, Full Metal Corgi here says, My first experience 2-up riding was when the missus and I rented a 125cc moped in Paris. Fun. I was fresh off the MSF course. This man lives dangerously. This is the same guy that has a Turbo Busa, so you can tell he lives dangerously. Which I had taken solely to get a moped rental at the time, so I had no idea what I was doing. The very first stop sign, I tried to clutch in, and instead just slammed on the rear brake, locked the tire, curbed the moped, and launched the two of us onto the sidewalk. Why she wants to rent a Ducati the next trip is still a mystery. Amazing story. I actually had a similar experience on a moped that I tried once. I also tried to clutch it in and just slammed the rear brake. I was like, the just happened? That is brave, dude, to be like, you just took your MSF and you go ride a 125 in Paris?
Yeah.
That's like nightmare mode, you know? Like people flying by you, traffic, roundabouts.
Yup. I mean,
crazy.
Yeah. I've been in downtown Paris once, and all I wanted to do was walk.
Yeah.
Getting into a car felt like death.
Absolutely. Yeah. They have those like triple roundabout situations. It's insane.
Like right around the Arc de Triomphe.
Yeah.
That whole
the Champs-Élysées area.
It's just, oh my God, no. Houston gives me hives when I think about riding there on a motorcycle. Doing that in Paris, pass.
Yeah, pass.
Okay, so next up we've got Burger.
Burger says, when I was 16 or 17, my dad took me to a dentist appointment on the back of his BMW R1100S. It was kind of cool at first, but the novelty wore off pretty quickly, and I realized I was just sitting there like a wallflower, crouched up into a cannonball with my dad's ass between my knees. Overall, a rather lame experience. Also, when I was a kid, I got to ride on the back of a Harley, and since my dumb ass was in shorts, I burned the my calf on the exhaust during the dismount. Ouch.
That's actually really common, is burning parts of your legs on exhausts. Yeah. My girlfriend did that when I first got on the 919. I had her on the back just to sit on there.
Those undertail pipes.
Yeah, she burned her calf on, because the one that I bought didn't have a heat shield.
Yeah.
And so she tapped her leg on the pipe, and she still has the scar.
Ouch.
Yeah.
I have a similar story to this guy. When I was like, I think 13 or 14, I was at a skate park, and my parents couldn't come pick me up, so my friend's dad had to come pick me up, and they live like 2 houses down from us in Florida, and he had, I think, like 2 Goldwings and a Harley, and he came through to pick me up from the skate park on his Harley, and I was like, where am I supposed to put my skateboard? You know, and like I didn't really care about bikes at that point.
Just hold it on your head.
I just scrunched it on my butt, and just like, because it's got like that little banking on the end of it, right? So I just kind of like put the deck on the back and just like put it on my butt. But yeah, I thought it was really lame, because I was like, why did this guy come pick me up on a friggin' motorcycle when I got my skateboard with me? And yeah, it was just weird, like holding his butt between my thighs. There's definitely a little bit of homoeroticism if you're doing 2-up riding. Yeah,
it was an interesting experience sitting, because yesterday, filming the video that's coming out in 2 days was my very first time sitting on the back of a motorcycle. I've never done it before in my life.
You never felt that close to a man in your life, have you?
No.
You're like, I never want to feel that close to a man ever again.
Okay, next up we've got the Rarest Mally.
The Rarest Mally says, hey guys, first let me say congratulations to Yam for the engagement. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. When it comes to 2-up, I'm scared of it. I did it once or twice when I was riding still, and scared the heck out of me. I think you kind of walked away from the experience like that too. Whenever you were a passenger yesterday, you're like, this is horrifying.
Yeah, no, I can't be on a motorcycle. After being on that little bike, I was like, I can't know.
Because you need the control. Yeah. Yeah, because you're saying you don't even ride roller coasters for that reason too. You want the control of it, you know?
It's just, I can't do it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like riding 2-up. I think I've done it a couple times. I've done it like 3 or 4 times with you for videos and for different reasons. Yeah, I was on the back of the VFR once with you, the Goldwing, and I think that's it. Maybe some other video we goofed around. I can't remember.
I can't remember. Those two do stick out in my mind though. Next up we have X2.
X2 says, I have yet to 2-up riding. I've been hesitant to have others on board with me and having that responsibility, definitely. But now as I've increased my skill level, I feel confident that I can ride with someone on me, and I would be open to it. I would love to share the motorcycling experience with someone else who isn't a rider. That's definitely what I've done in the past. Different date nights or stuff like that. It's fun to show someone the experience of being on a bike and kind of showing them the kind of visceral acceleration and the fun factor of it. That is cool. But I agree with X2 is that, like, there's I could never shake the sense of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm on a bike and something goes sideways and I get hurt, I'm like, whatever, man, I got hurt. That sucks. I was on the bike. I would literally never be able to like live with myself if I was on a bike, I made a mistake, and the person was on my ride and I got them hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that would be
really hard.
That would be really hard to live with that, you know? So yeah. Did you ever feel that kind of sense of responsibility with it too?
So for me, it was just, I noticed that my riding style changed. It became very slow, very methodical, and very predictable.
Yes.
Because right now, you know, if I'm just poodling around in traffic, sometimes I'll just like weave around the lane and just, you know, I'll gas it a little bit more. I'll goof around because I know I'm in control. But when I have somebody on back, I'm like, no, everything needs to be smooth as glass. And that's usually when that happens, I'm feeling a little bit more confident that I am accepting risk for the person behind me because I'm riding within the best of my abilities.
Yeah.
So
we were saying earlier that one of the things we got to get you to do, since you love 2-up riding so much, is at a Moto America event we're going to go to, they do 2-up around the racetrack with Chris Ulrich. I don't think I could get you to do that.
I don't think you could either. Like it would be very difficult.
Yeah. I was telling it to Josh and he was like, I'll do it. He was just like, yeah, I'll go.
Because Josh gives no
Josh has no regard for his own life at all. All right, next up is Alejandro, right?
Yep.
Alejandro says, perhaps a collab video with Dan the Fireman on 2-up riding to explain the physics and techniques to do it safely. What are your guys' thoughts on that? That would be cool. Dan's a great guy. I don't know if he has much 2-up riding experience. I don't know if I've seen that much on his channel. But yeah, the physics, I mean, it changes a lot. The dynamics and the behavior of the motorcycle change a lot. Some bikes are more forgiving, like the Goldwing. It felt like it was nothing. It was just like, is there a passenger or is there not a passenger? It doesn't matter. Other bikes will change a lot. Yeah.
Specifically.
Like the one that's coming out in 2 days. Yeah, my Scrambler is one that I've actually had several different people on the back of it. It doesn't change too much, but it does affect it a little bit. And it's always important if you're going to be doing a lot of 2-up riding to make sure to mind your preload on the suspension. That's something we haven't mentioned yet, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, you don't want to have a passenger at the back with your preload only because that's going to sag your stuff way back.
I used to carry, when I was doing a lot of 2-up stuff, I used to just carry a preload spanner in my bike, and I would just click it up, because on the Harley, it's super easy. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you use the wrench, and you just pop it up a couple clicks, and you're good to go. On the KLR, it's basically the same way. You just turn a 12 mil, and it just gets stiffer. That's why I really like those clicky type preloads. Yeah. Because it's so easy to do.
A lot of adventure bikes and sport touring bikes have those just easy, like, quick adjust preload, and that's exactly why they have them, you know.
Next up, we've got Claws.
Claus says, about 2-up riding in the European neck of the woods I am currently in, 2-up riding is part of the permit exam. For the final section, you have to bop around town with your instructor as pillion and the examiner in a car behind you. Absolutely terrifying experience. Could you imagine being a riding instructor and going into traffic behind dudes with less than 20 miles under their belt?
Oh my God.
That is wild. No, I can't imagine that.
I would be like in a race suit with an airbag on. Be like, just in case. Make sure my wheel was up to date.
I think it's so cool that in Europe, their tests are so much more comprehensive than ours. Like, so much more. Like, they actually go out on road and they follow you and they do all that. I mean, that's how it should be. It shouldn't just be in a parking lot. They'd be like, all right, champ, get out there and get a Turbo Busa. Like, it can't be like that.
I honestly think that, this is a bit off topic, but any American who actually has ridden big power bikes would be like, yeah, we need a tiered system. Yeah. More or less. With stuff like this, where you actually learn all these skills. Yeah.
That's crazy, though.
that would be butt puckering.
Yes.
Next up, we got China Shite Bike Boy.
China Shite Bike Boy says, the best 2-up bike I've ever owned was a 2001 Kawasaki ZRX 1200. I would take my ex-wife to San Diego Zoo, great zoo by the way, and then ride all the way up to Julian, California before heading back to our apartment in Vista, California. It was super comfortable, big gas tank, and extremely stable at California highway speeds. That sounds great. Yeah. Sounds like a wonderful ride. ZRX 1200, was that Busa competitor? No, that's ZX14 is a Busa competitor. Yep. It was more of a naked bike, right?
Let's do a Google.
I can't remember what those look like off the top of my head.
ZRX 1200.
You got some.
There's some math numbers in there. ZRX 1200. Oh yeah.
Yeah, kind of
naked bike.
Kind of looks like a. Oh, this reminds me of the bike that they used to race, like Kenny Rogers and stuff. Like the big cradle frame inline fours.
Mm-hmm.
That's a cool bike.
Yeah.
Kind of like Josh's GS that he has.
Yeah, that actually looks really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like a great two-up bike.
Next up, Jixer Squid.
Jixer Squid. I will not let my lady on the back unless she wears a helmet. I'm not exhausted. She has a minimum of jeans and closed-toe shoes on and a Senna. Should be a Cardo. She loves to chat and makes it even more fun for her. Also, I will never act cool or go fast nor ride if either of us has had a single drop of alcohol. Jixer Squid not living up to his username there.
Yeah, I know.
Responsible Squid. Yeah, I totally agree. That was something that I've done too with like maybe date night stuff where I didn't know the girl that well. I'd be like, hey, you gotta have this equipment. Like, I'm not gonna let you onto the skirt. Like, you need to at minimum have jeans, closed-toed shoes. Like, you can't be on the bike, riding that kind of stuff. And I always had a helmet to put on them. I'm not gonna let them on without a helmet. That's crazy.
Yeah, I when we were first starting doing two-up riding, I bought my girlfriend motorcycle gear.
Nice.
I was like, you
need it.
You need it.
Yeah.
Because I had been riding around and I was like, this is terrifying. I don't know why anybody rides without a helmet on.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's funny, my fiance, I've only ever had it on the back of the bike once. Just once, ever.
Sled?
On the sled. Yep.
The sled has a nice seat for two-up riding.
It's real gentle. Yeah, it's got a lot of space.
Next up, we've got Satsui.
Satsui says, I ride an 06 Daytona 675, and as Yam probably knows, the pillion is crazy high. I've never had someone two up, and I don't think I ever will, at least on that bike. As a shorter rider, I can already be extremely awkward and uncomfortable. Yeah, that's the funny thing about sport bikes is the pillion seats are like 4 inches above where the rider is. So like you have a pillion that's like up here with their head,
The weight's
it's really
weird.
awkward. It's super awkward. On a super sport, no passenger. No.
I mean, you wouldn't want to be a passenger anyway because the pillion seat's like the size of that remote control.
Yeah.
So
I still wonder if one day I can get passenger pegs back on the Turbo Busa because it's got a really wide seat for the passenger.
Pass. I'm not getting on the back of the Turbo Busa.
Hey, man, at least it'll pull harder than that bike we rode.
Yeah. I Am Log is next.
I Am Log says, my only experience with two-up riding has been on dirt bikes, where the rear suspension is really designed for another person on the back. Luckily, those times have been only when the bike breaks down. Yep, main chain falling off and breaking one of the sprockets, although doing wheelies with another person on the back is too easy. It's also fun going off jumps when the other person isn't expecting it and they freak out, even if it's only a 1-foot jump, even though that person was doing 20-foot jumps just moments before. So that's something that I've seen people do that I think is absolutely bad is two-up adventure riding.
Yeah.
Bad shit. Never.
No.
It's already heavy and crazy as it is. Putting a passenger on the back on your big-ass adventure bike?
Also, how the hell are you going to stand up on the... Like, are they going to stand up and just hold your waist? Like, hold onto a
Yeah,
belt?
do both people stand up or do you just do a Wilbur style where everyone just sits all the time? I don't know. Yeah, off-road two-up is pretty wild.
Yeah, I think that's
You
pass.
only do it out of necessity, like they were saying. It's like your buddy's bike broke down. It's like, all right, well, jump on the back. We'll get you out of the trail, bare minimum.
Next up, we've got Honaha Yamada.
Honaha Yamada says, what's up, dudes? So I think some people get the wrong idea that you need a shit ton of power to ride two up. It kind of ties into people thinking they need a much bigger bike if they weigh more than 150 pounds. I weigh just about 195 to 200, and I had one of my friends that's about 250 on the back of my 2002 V-Star 650. I mean, it wasn't great, and it wasn't for that long, but we could still go highway speeds without much issue. I wouldn't do it for more than 20 or 30 miles. Kind of goes well with people thinking they need a huge bike or an even bigger Harley if they weigh more than 200 pounds, but that's just kind of my take. LOL, hope y'all are well. That's really true as well. I mean, we saw that little bike that we rode, it did go down the road, but at what cost? You know, that's the big thing. I think the thing about a bigger bike that serves well for passengers is that it just feels more stable. That's the thing, especially at faster speeds.
It's also, you don't feel like you're stressing the motor at all. A lot of torque on a motor is really nice when you're doing two-up riding, so that it just kind of feels effortless.
Yeah.
You can find yourself cruising at lower RPM.
Yep.
Usually, which is nicer. So I do understand if you're doing a lot of 2-up riding, just getting a big ass engine.
Yeah, that's fair.
Next up, Charlemagne.
Charlemagne says, having a girl on the back makes me ride so much safer and slower. I do it on a Bonneville, so it's fun, but I'm always hyper aware of what's going on around me, always think about how she's feeling. Sometimes it really rocks their world, and I love seeing the way they react. Also, they never dress the way I tell them to go on a ride. Boots and jackets, etc. Yeah, it goes back to what you were saying. I'm a totally different person if I have someone on the back of the bike. Like, completely different. So much safer, smoother, easier going. Yeah, you can't. Because you can just put, like, harsh inputs. It's just going to amplify it like it would if you're riding by yourself. You know, it's just a bad idea.
Especially if you haven't set the bike up. Like, if you haven't jacked up the preload.
That's how to commit die.
Emperor DD is next.
Emperor DD says, first time riding 2-up, me and my friend were in Vegas and rented an R3 for the Valley of Fire Canyon. Even with 2 people, it rode like a champ. Wow, impressive.
Yeah.
Doing a whole like canyon ride on an R3 2-up. Impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive.
I would not have pegged the R3 as capable of
doing that
at all.
But I think it's, it's like it won't do it very fast or effectively, but it'll do it, you know?
And then you have the story to tell.
Yep.
You did the Valley of Fire Canyon on an R3, 2-up.
Yep.
Odang 12 is next.
I mean, you think about it. I just thought about the boys at Revzilla did that 2-up ride on that little 50cc moped thing they built, right?
Yes.
I mean, geez, anything will do it. But
They
again,
also
at what
did the
cost?
Goldwing around the racetrack.
Yeah,
Remember
2-up
that?
Goldwing. That's right. Yeah. All right, Odang12 says, my first experience riding pillion was up in Utah with my grandpa on a Suzuki Bergman 650, baby. That bike probably gave Spite's KLR a run for its money in terms of being underpowered, but I almost pissed myself multiple times on that first ride. Definitely got to say it's more fun to actually ride. Bergman 650, what a bike. What a scoot.
We've seen fully capable of adventure scooter goodness.
Absolutely. Yeah, the thing Spite's referencing is one time we were scouting out a road out in Big Bend, and we're like, oh, I wonder how gnarly this road is, blah, blah, blah. And we found a video on YouTube where a dude did the whole road on a Bergman 650, and we were like, all right, it can't be that hard.
Yeah.
We can do it.
And he looked literally like Wilford Brimley.
Yeah, he looked old and fat, so...
But yeah, it's more fun to ride the bike than
it's more fun to ride
on the bike.
Yeah.
And I think that's why perhaps 2-up riding is a good gateway into motorcycling. Because you get a little bit of the feel for it, and then you're like, wait a minute, I want to be
You get the
in
buzz,
control.
you're like, I want to be on the bike, I want to tell it what to do. I think that'd be fun.
Spooky Ghost is up next.
Spooky Ghost says, when I was 17, I had a 50cc scooter, and on my way back home from school, I had also agreed to take a buddy with me and ride him home. Since I am young, I didn't care about maintenance. And in the middle of a roundabout, the back tire exploded. Cheers from Sweden. P.S. We didn't crash. Wow, that's pretty amazing that you didn't crash with a rear tire blowout with a 2-up rider on a 50cc scooter.
It probably just went like, and then landed on the rim.
Yeah, it just kept spinning. It's already going so slow. It's like, whatever. Yeah, that's definitely a Euro boy life, is being like 16, 17, 50cc scoot. Just, going around.
PDX Moto Guy is next.
All right, PDX Moto Guy says, I started riding on the tank of my father's 70 Honda Rickman race bike when I was 2. Learned a ton from riding on the back of a bike when I was young. I'll never forget my dad pointing at the speedo when we were going 140 miles per hour, head bobbing. That sounds like an awesome dad. I ride way slower and pay way more attention with the rider. Glad my girl wasn't on my bike when I got creamed by a broad in a VW.
Yikes.
Damn, that sucks. Yeah, again, you want to make sure that nothing goes sideways with the passenger at the back, because it could be a really, really nasty situation. Can you imagine going 2-up 140?
No.
Insane. No, thank you. No, thank you.
And then
and then he's just pointing it out, just like burying the needle, just like, hey,
reach around and
check it out.
Dr. Zero is next.
Dr. Zero says, growing up, I started riding with my dad at 3 or 4 years old. He would sit me on his lap, and I'd hold the gas caps on his Harley when he had the dual tanks. We were in the newspaper once because the car was broken down, and Dad took me and my sister to the local Easter egg hunt on his Harley. I'm personally, like both of you, prefer to ride alone. I think a lot of riders prefer to ride alone. Most riders, I would say. But there are the, 2-up contingent out there who love the sport touring life or adventure life and love doing it 2-up. I'm just not one of them.
Yeah, no, I like going places with people, but not with people on the same bike.
Yeah, no. Alrighty, folks, that's going to wrap up the Discord DM segment. Let's move on to these YouTube comments.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Can't wait. All right, folks, welcome to this week's meme contest. We're doing something a little bit different. We were just reading some silly YouTube comments that we've received. We had these found and scoured by our Discord boys. So it's not much of a contest this week, but we do have them shouted out here for finding these great comments.
Yeah, we're just having some fun today.
Yeah, and we have not actually read any of these, so this is going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the first comment up is from Charlemagne. He found this, and we have blocked out everyone's name so that we're not doxing anybody or putting anybody on blast. This person said, everyone knows that European bikes sucks. It only costs you higher. Japanese bikes is best. If you compare the looks and quality of Japanese and European bikes will demolish the European bikes. And take note that not all, cause even in performance, European bikes are worst. And Japanese bikes are much powerful. That European sucks bikes. What compels someone to just like start writing these like little mini diatribes, you know?
It's always funny when the tirade goes on longer than their like ability to string coherent thoughts together does.
Yeah. I always like to think that it's perhaps someone whose English is maybe not their first language. That's probably what's happening here. But then I'm also like, you know what? Sometimes it is their first language and they're just not really trying at all. Yeah, Japanese bike, best bike. European bike, terrible bike.
But that was not the... So if I had to guess, this was on the what happens if you start on a Eurobike video. That's not the point of the video.
Of course it's not.
So it's just like, dude, you read the title and description. You heard me probably in the beginning be like, what's it like starting on a Eurobike or something like that?
Pause.
Yep.
I mean, so many people do that where they see a video title and thumbnail, click on it, press pause on the video, scroll down, begin typing their thoughts. I'm like, you haven't even seen anything about the video yet. Hold on a sec.
It reminds me of those people who literally, they will say, haven't watched the video yet, but.
And it's like, well, yeah. Well, thank you, Charlemagne, for that comment here that we found. What's up next?
Next up, we have one from Full Metal Corgi.
Full Metal Corgi says, the Busa is going to be so fast, it'll travel back in time and be done in February 2021. Yes. They got some good zingers in the comments section. I wish. That would be amazing. Yeah, that'd be great. If I could go back in time, what would I say to myself if I could go back in time? I think I'd tell myself to just build the engine out. Just build the engine out. Just do it the right way the first time. Don't screw around with it. It'll be worth it in the long run.
Just give it yourself Lance's number. Be like, just give it to him.
Give it to him. Give it to him. Take the kit to him. Take the bike to him. Have him do everything. Don't even worry about it. And I had too much hubris.
It's going to be easy. We just bolt it on.
Look, I will say, if we had set the fuel pressure regulator correctly and didn't lean it out, it would have worked fine. But it's all a very delicate system. Very delicate system on the Turbo Busa. Great comment. Love it.
Next up, we have from China Shite Bike Boy.
China Shite Bike Boy says, or he didn't say this, this random person says here, learn to be stand up as often as you can. Knees and elbows will act as a second set of suspension. Let the bike do his weird stuff under you. Learn how to and when to weight and underweight the pegs. Use kickers and launch bike over obstacles. Momentum is key in dirt riding / hill climbing. Cross enduro channel is where I learn everything. Pissed. KTM 500 and Husky FE are the kings of the trail, my friend. You will love. This was... I don't know what video this was on.
This must be the Boys Ride Dirt Bikes.
Boys Ride Dirt Bikes video. That video was great because so many people were like, just send it through the mud puddles. I'm like, you have no idea how deep those are, and neither do we. Like, I actually did that later with Josh, where I just tried going through the middle, almost ate shit. My front tire went completely just sunk in. I almost went ass over tea kettle. And I was like, never doing that again. It's the armchair Graham Jarvises in the comments are great in the off-road videos.
There are so many gatekeepers in
it's
off-road
crazy,
world.
Dude. It's crazy. Like, we're just riding bikes off-road and having fun. They're like, you're not allowed to have fun.
Yeah.
You have to do it our way. I'm like, dude, whatever.
Next up, we've got Alex Zuga.
Alex Zuga provided this comment section here. What is this? It says, these guys have no idea what they're talking about. 250s do suck. Beep, beep, beep. pop, beep boop. This 125-pound spaghetti arm boy is such a shill.
What? This
I
has got to be on the sub 200 under 200 cc video.
It's got to be that, yeah.
This is just, there's so much chaotic energy happening here.
I mean, this encapsulates YouTube comments to a T, right? It's like, you don't know what's going on. It's just like random talking and like beep beep boop boops in the middle of it.
But these are 5 different people.
Yeah, this is just a random screen grab. That goes to show you how insane it is. Yeah, and then you see people, like, I see people at me on Discord, not on Discord, on Instagram in the comments on some post, be like, oh, like, why don't you read the YouTube comments, or like, why didn't you respond to my YouTube comment? I'm like, do you know what it looks like down there? I don't look at that. Like, I don't look at that mess, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it's chaos.
Absolute
Utter chaos all the time.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Marky Mark.
Marky Mark here provided one that I think I've read this one. This person put a comment. This was on our Scramblers Are Dead video.
Yep.
The Scrambler will never die. It is the short-range adventure bike. It is more lightweight, more attractive, and cheaper to buy/build. They are, debatable. They are more fun for riders than dual sports on the road and offer great fun off-road for the weightless rider. The KTM 390 ADV is a mislabeled scrambler, more capable and just as fun as the Husqvarna Svartpillen. My Indian-built 125cc Yamaha standard bike is very capable for light off-road, only after spending $350 for tire and suspension upgrades. Has to be a guy in India.
Yeah.
125cc Yamaha standard bike, or somewhere else in like Central America or Brazil or something. I feel this energy. I can feel it. A lot to unpack here.
What does weightless rider mean?
What is the weightless rider? I've heard of the weightless rider technique for adventure riding, where it's like you kind of stand on the bike and you let it work underneath you. I don't think that's what he's talking about. Saying that they're more fun for riders than dual sports on road is a tall claim.
Yeah.
Tall claim. Only if you're doing like lots of highway stuff, but I'd still rather be on a dual sport than a scrambler on road. They're just so lightweight.
And that it's more lightweight, attractive, and cheaper to buy/build?
Yeah, than what?
No.
Than a dual sport?
No, than an ADV bike.
Than an ADV bike? Nah. They're about as heavy. Mm-hmm. They're not nearly as capable. That's the thing. Like, if you take a random scrambler, like a Ducati scrambler or a Triumph scrambler, compare that to any adventure bike, the adventure bike's way more competent. Like your KLR that's 21-inch front end, way more competent, even though the weights are the same. A mislabeled scrambler.
That's just wrong.
Totally incorrect.
So much. There's like an onion here.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Odang 12.
Odang 12 says, it's called inertia, physics 101. Did you know that if you drop a bullet at the same time you fire one out of the gun, they'll both hit the ground at the same time? Gravity is 9.8 meters a second squared. Velocity doesn't affect gravity. Plus, if you could, she's probably going on to some diatribe. Says, new drinking game. Take a shot every time he says gyroscopic forces. I don't know what video this was on, but it says 5 months ago and a year ago. This must be an older video.
Yeah.
I don't know why this guy's talking about physics.
Also, this is just incorrect. If you drop a bullet at the same time you fire one out of a gun, they'll hit the ground at the same. That's demonstrably false.
Yeah.
A bullet goes like 1,200 feet per second at least.
Yeah.
Maybe even 12,000.
Because it's being fired out of a round, you know?
Yeah.
Like
that's just. You can go ahead and believe that.
The thing is, like,
here.
you can drop two objects and they'll fall at the same speed, right? But I think if you shoot one out of a handgun, it's gonna go a little bit faster.
Just a little
bit faster. Yeah.
And the dude's like, it's physics 101.
Again, we don't like to talk about science here on the Yamcast because I very quickly embarrass myself. It is not my forte. Economics is my forte. I'm not a science man. Everyone knows that.
I was in mechanical engineering until I hit thermodynamics, and I was like, this. Next up, we've got Stacy the Death Star.
All right, Stacy the Death Star here. You might have to increase the size on there.
All right.
I can't see.
Bump this up a little bit.
There we go. Oh, this is on your KLR video.
Yeah, it is.
This felt like 40 minutes of spite trying to convince himself it was the right purchase. LOL. 123 thumbs ups on there.
God damn.
Adding an exhaust with no tune will create a lean condition and compromise longevity. Wow. Tell us something else we don't know. Bikes don't have the ability to compensate for more or less air like cars compensate.
That's actually false. They just can't compensate as well.
Nice to see the world's fastest ball shaver salesman back in action, LOL. Diehard viewer here, experienced rider 30 plus years, go back to on-road videos, please. No, it actually has 43mm front forks. Eye watching, okay. I'm not going to lie, but buying a luggage requires a motorcycle, making it not a beginner anymore. I suppose that's true, but we're also banking on the fact that not only people who don't own bikes want the CRF 300L.
Yeah.
It's just a nice bike to have. Fun bike in the stable.
Yeah.
You know?
This has to be off of 3 different videos.
Yeah, it's off a couple different videos, but the KLR video that you put out had just so many gems of comments.
Yeah, it really did.
So much vitriolic hatred for the poor little KLR. What did it ever do to anybody?
There were a lot of people in there who were like, you made the wrong decision. I was like, I explained why I made the decision I made in the video, guys. You just didn't watch.
You didn't like the decision I made. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Also, it's not your motorcycle.
Yeah, it's not your decision.
Next up, we have the Lava Melon.
All right, here we go. 650cc for only 40 horsepower, question mark. The CRF 300 puts out 27 and 19 torque. I'm going to look up the bore and stroke on it. It just seems low to me. I had a 2013 CB1000R that weighed the same as this and cranked 127 horsepower. Okay, that's completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like me being like, oh, your KLR only makes 40 horsepower, an R1 makes 200. It's like, well, it's a completely different bike, right? Like,
yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It's for different purposes, too. Like a CB1000R is a naked sport bike. Your KLR is not a naked sport bike.
No, it's not a sport anything.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything sport.
The CRF, though, like... Wait, okay, why does the bore and stroke matter? That doesn't... Okay, do you think this is on the CRF?
Bore and stroke doesn't matter at all because compression ratio comes into play.
Yeah. Do you think this is CRF or on the KLR video? Because it came out about the same time.
I don't know which one it's on, but it's clearly talking about the KLR versus the CRF.
Yeah.
And yeah, like we know this KLR doesn't make much top end power. That is known, right? But he left out the torque the KLR makes too, which is what?
40.
So that's way more torque than the CRF. That's the thing. Silly.
Yep. Next up, we've got Wyatt. Great.
Just the one on bottom. Yes, White sucks.
Thanks, comment guy.
All right, so the other thing this person said was the Scout not keeping up there had nothing to do with the engine. At that moment, they were obviously going through very long sweeping curves, and the Vulcan had far superior handling, as they just said multiple times. The Vulcan is over 100 pounds lighter, plus 50 pounds difference between Spite and Yam, plus fat front tire for the Scout for design for appearance, comfort, not performance, or worse rubber. Yam is more experienced and blah, 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 and they're just, yeah, Spite sucks. You guys are so mean in the comments. My favorite still is whenever people just go like, who's this guy? Whenever you're on the channel.
That still happens.
Hilarious. 2.5 years on the channel. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
That's just a little like they woke up from a coma.
Yeah.
And the first thing they did was watch a Yammy Noob video with me in it.
Scout not keeping up with the Vulcan. Was that the Vulcan review?
Yeah, it must have been.
Because that has just some amazing comments on it. You could just
generally
for that. There's thousands on there at this point. Thousands of comments.
So many butthurt Vulcan boys.
People. And little do they know that we are going to California to ride a Versa 650, and we're going to say even more worse things about it.
Oh, man, that is going to be a fun couple of days.
It's going to be so fun.
Next up, we have this one. So I actually screenshotted this one because we were running out. We needed one, and I had this one. This is a phenomenon that drives me nuts. This is all the same guy.
Oh, man. Can you make that bigger? I'm having trouble reading it. So all the same guy here. Was this from your KLR video?
Yes.
He says, let's mod that pig. There's no chance that pig weighs that. It can take a fall with no damage, actually. Install the counterbalance chain tensioner when you do the clutch pack. It doesn't need a cooling mod. It's BS mod. Just saying. Loctite bolts. The foot pegs can easily be lowered. Keep Loctite ready. I'd put a -4 on it. Like, oh my God. All just these comments. My least favorite thing whenever people is it's just like they tell you what to do with your bike.
Yeah.
It's like, you gotta do this. It needs this. It needs a tail tidy. It needs a Krapovich exhaust. I'm like, I don't need to do anything. Shut the up.
This is also such a weird thing that I'm noticing more and more is people like commenting as they're watching the video and they're using this as like their own like.
I mean, it raises engagement. I'm not against it, but it's a bit weird to respond to your own comment and just keep going, you know?
Yeah, and like, so first of all, it can take a fall with no damage, actually. That's inaccurate. Keep Loctite ready. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
There's so much happening here.
Yeah, like it's going to just vibrate itself apart.
-4? Like, is that, I'm assuming he's thinking -4 to the rear sprocket.
Why would you do that?
Yeah,
for
better
super long
speed.
highway speed? Does it rev high at the highway?
I don't know. I actually don't have a tack anymore, but it revs to like slightly uncomfortable at 75, 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I've seen this more and more as people just reacting to their own comments as they watch the video.
Yeah.
And this was a 40-minute video, so there was probably more on this.
Probably more. Yeah, a bit weird, but it helps our engagement. So
yep.
Thanks to that person for tuning in with all the comments there. Any more comments, or is that it?
That is it.
All right. Well, that was a fun twist on the meme contest this week. Just some peculiar and bizarre YouTube comments. We get a lot of them. Trust me, we cannot read all of them. We get a lot of them. Because I was actually looking at it the other day. There's all the ones that go live on the new videos. We have a new one every day. And then there's all old stuff that's getting comments too.
Like 600 plus videos in the backlog.
Oh, we have 1,100 videos.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's way more than that. So yeah. But hey, leave a YouTube comment down below if you're watching this. We won't read it. I'm sorry, probably not. You know what? Every time a video goes live in the first 15 minutes, I'm kind of looking at comments, seeing what's going on. So if you're early, maybe I'll read it and check it out. But that's going to wrap up the Yamcast for this week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, if you want to join up on the server, on the Discord server, go to yammynoob.co. $5 a month gets you access. You can check out all the behind-the-scenes stuff, access to win the giveaway bikes, and to join up on the live streams, and to participate on a deeper level here on Yammy Noob. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.
Keep watching Yammy Noob.